We have over 60 participants on the call. So I will get started. First off, I want to welcome everyone. Good evening. My name is Brad Koch, Director of Athletics and Recreation. I want to welcome certainly all new students and transfers, and for our returning continuing students, welcome back as well. We are a few weeks away from a semester that will look very different, but we remain hopeful that it will be every bit as enjoyable. If everyone can just remain on mute as we go through a couple things initially. Our plans throughout the last few months have changed several times, forcing us to reset based on current recommendations from the CDC, state and local guidelines, as well as resocialization protocols from the NCAA. Before we get into detail of those plans as of today, a couple things to note regarding the layout for this evening. So we do have a panel, and that panel includes Kay Corcoran, Associate Director of Athletics, review updates from the NCAA and current Division III landscape. Orlin Jesperson, Associate Director of Athletics, Recreation, and Community Engagement. Preparations and guidelines in place for athletic facilities and usage. Rachel Flanders, Coordinator of Athletic Training Services, as well as our Healthcare Administrator. She'll review preparations and guidelines in place with the athletic training room and athletic training services. And Dustin Melandra, Head Strength and Conditioning Coach, preparations and guidelines in place with that room as well as strength and conditioning services. Laura Patton, Assistant Director of Athletics for Academic Services. She will really review her role in academic support within athletics. We also have Dr. Colleen Lely, Associate Professor of Education, and our FAR, our Faculty Athletics Representative. She will go over her role as an FAR and general overview of the fall academic calendar and course modules. And the last part of our panelists includes Brittany Runyon, Coordinator of Student Athlete Programming and Assistant Women's Soccer Coach. I'm sure we have several women's soccer student athletes on the team.
Should we just go?
Can you guys hear? Can everyone give me a thumbs up if you're hearing me correctly? Okay, thanks everyone. All right, each of those panelists have prepared a short video presentation to walk through several focus areas of your return to campus. Several coaches are also joining us this evening as well. After the video, we will open up the chat room for questions. Stephen Ruprecht, our Dean of Students and Chair of the University COVID-19 Task Force, will be on hand to answer questions as well. Please also direct your attention to our COVID-19 Athletics resource page, which outlines much of what we will discuss today and provides helpful information in preparation for all aspects of your college experience this fall. We will be updating that page as often as possible, and prior to any activity, we'll add a comprehensive return to campus guide for our student athletes in the coming weeks as well. As an aside, briefly, welcome back week information and orientation programming, along with move-in details, have been sent out from the Office of Student Life. As you're aware, classes are scheduled to start August 31st with 3 different formats. Again, Dr. Lely will review our adjusted course modules for the fall as well. Cabrini University is a member of the Atlantic East Conference. We have 7 total member institutions, as well as several associate members in various sports. The Atlantic East Conference Board of Presidents, with the recommendation from myself and all other ADs, unanimously decided to postpone all Atlantic East fall sport intercollegiate competition, joint programming, and championships. I can't underscore this enough, but the health and safety of our students and campus community has been and will continue to steer us to make good decisions and sound judgments. Pending NCAA approval, the Atlantic East will conduct fall sport championships in the spring 2021 semester. Discussions are ongoing within Atlantic East Conference leadership to construct a game schedule in the spring within the parameters of recent legislative changes from the NCAA regarding playing and practice seasons. Kay Corcoran will review those changes and possible impact on your eligibility. Okay, so where do we go from here? What does all that mean? What does that decision mean for us as student athletes of a fall sport or multiple sports? Consistent across all NCAA membership, we have established a 2-week acclimatization period or gating process to help you and all of us adapt to this new environment. Tuesday, September 8th, Tuesday, September 8th will be considered the first possible date for athletic-related activity. This will include light conditioning with our strength and conditioning coaches, team meetings, compliance and athletic training meetings, and educational workshops that will outline mitigating measures and guidelines to safely conduct, ultimately, more strenuous activity. Very much a part of our student experience, student athlete experience. We will also use that time to implement appropriate training for Title IX, bystander intervention, as well as diversity and inclusivity. It will give you an opportunity as well to understand modifications on campus, and for some of you, adapt to that hybrid learning format. After those 2 weeks, beginning on Tuesday, September 21st, we will transition to skill, player, team development, more rigorous strength and conditioning, and practices for the balance of the semester. Your respective head coach will designate practice pods of 10 student athletes, which may include a coach or less, that you will remain with throughout the semester. Now, these pods are also considered functional units, so 5-on-5 or 4-on-4 within those pods are permissible. This format is in direct compliance with the most recent NCAA resocialization guidelines. I brought it up earlier. I want to bring it up again. Please direct your attention to the Athletics COVID-19 Athletics resource page, which can be found on CabriniAthletics.com for additional parameters outlined in those NCAA resocialization guidelines. All right, so I know several of you have questions, some of which I think will be answered through this next segment. We will get to all others immediately following the video presentation. Please feel free to start listing some questions in the chat room. Maria Alexandrovitz, our athletics office specialist, will be monitoring the chat room and calling out questions when we're ready. Okay, thanks everyone. We can play the video for the group.
Hey everybody, my name is Kate Corcoran. I'm the Associate Director of Athletics here at Cabrini University. First, let me say welcome to all of our new Cabrini University athletics families. One of my main functions on campus is to deal with NCAA compliance and student-athlete eligibility. So to that end, I'm going to do my best to provide some updates in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic and what that means for student-athlete eligibility and intercollegiate athletics. Like most of you, we have been following the COVID-19 pandemic and the effects that it will have on the NCAA intercollegiate seasons for this upcoming academic year. In light of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have been following the NCAA Division III landscape very closely. As of today, of the 44 Division III conferences in the country, 43 have postponed or canceled fall sports for this upcoming 2020 season. The NCAA is requiring that 50% of eligible teams for each sport participate in order to conduct NCAA championships in that sport. As a result of conferences postponing or canceling seasons for the fall, on August 5th, the NCAA Division III President's Council announced the cancellation of fall sports for this upcoming year. As conferences look to conduct fall seasons in the spring, the NCAA has made adjustments to the playing seasons legislation. Typically, there are a limited number of weeks designated at specific times of the year to allow seasons to be conducted. This upcoming academic year, playing seasons will now be determined by days and allow for flexibility to run seasons throughout the academic year. The NCAA is also looking at the effects on student-athlete eligibility, and to that end have approved a blanket waiver for this upcoming academic year as it pertains to student-athlete eligibility. In the event teams participate in 50% or less of the maximum allowable dates of competition, student-athletes will not be charged with a year of eligibility. Please note that this waiver is based on competition and not individual student-athlete competition. Within the Atlantic East Conference, we are looking at building schedules for our fall sports seasons in the spring that will comply with this participation waiver. Finally, the NCAA has also approved an extension of eligibility waiver, giving student-athletes 2 full-time semesters to complete their 4 years of athletics eligibility if they are unable to participate in their sport during this upcoming academic year. As things develop within the NCAA, we will continue to work with the student-athletes and coaches as it pertains to student-athlete eligibility.
Hey everyone, this is Orland Jesperson, Associate Director of Athletics and Recreation. Just wanted to welcome you all back for this fall and looking forward to getting you in the building. So as we do have a few things that have changed in the last 6 months. So just wanted to make you aware that we are operating under the Pennsylvania guidelines put forth by Governor Wolf. And the key piece of that is that we are requiring masks be worn at all times in the building. So that includes walking around, but also while you're exercising, while you're in practice. So the only time you wouldn't wear a mask is while you are actively swimming. But it is important to recognize that you will be wearing a mask while you work out. So please make sure you kind of ease yourself into those workouts indoors, getting used to wearing a mask while working out so that we don't have any issues or concerns while you're on campus. Obviously, keeping some distance, bring a full water bottle with you. And our recommendation is exercise outdoor as much as you can. Take advantage of that. And if you need to come inside, then we're here for you and we're ready for you to jump in the building and do some workouts. As far as accessing the building, you're going to enter through the main pavilion entrance, stop at the front desk, swipe your ID at the front desk. You must have your ID. We are only allowing students, faculty, and staff to use the facility right now. So we do need you to have your ID and check in so that we can keep an accurate count of how many people are in the building at a time. When you leave the building, you're going to go out through the pool entrance and through those doors so that we can mark you off as exiting, and that way it frees up a spot in the building for someone else if we need to start putting in capacity restrictions. So really important to recognize that the side doors are not available. The card swipes will be disabled. You cannot use those to go in and out. So make sure that you're using the main entrance and the pool exit, and everything will be good. In the building, we do have the fitness center, the pool, and we'll have the Hall of Fame and conference room available. So those are the main activity spaces that we're going to have available for you. Unfortunately, to start, we are not going to have locker rooms or the showers available. The gym and track will not be open for general use. Neither will the group exercise studios or any equipment for checkout. So just keep that in mind as things relax and the situation looks to be getting better, then we'll look to open up those spaces as guidelines allow. Okay. General expectations while you're in the building, please do your part to keep things clean with you or after your use. So we will have some supplies available, whether it's in the Hall of Fame conference room or up in the fitness center. But just make sure you're wiping down your space after you're done. Fitness center, we've always had wipes available. Those will still be available. We will also have a process where our staff will clean up and wipe things down after you as well, so that we're making sure that everything's getting hit and well cleaned. The important piece, though, is that with these guidelines changing pretty frequently, you really need to pay attention to what our staff is telling you, because they're going off of the most recent guidelines and it could change overnight. So hopefully we can get to a place where things are operating a little bit more normally, but until then, just make sure that you're paying attention to what our staff is telling you. Okay. The other piece is there are some spaces that will only be available with coaches when you're doing team practices. The athletic training room is going to have reservations available for your appointments, and we're setting up a reservation system for that. So we should have that up and running within the next week or two, and you can go to the rec.cabrini.edu website to do that. That way they can manage the number of people that are in the space and make sure that we're keeping things cleaned after each use. Okay. And I think that's it. Pretty quickly ran through it, but it gives you a rough idea of a few things to expect. Here are a few spots where you can get more information, obviously the reservation system. And if you have any questions, please contact me at orlandj@cabrini.edu. Looking forward to seeing you back on campus.
Hello, my name is Rachel Flanders, and I'm the coordinator of athletic training services at Cabrini University. and the Cabrini athletic training staff understands there has been an unsettling time for all of us during this pandemic. In order to help simulate a sense of normalcy that intercollegiate athletics could bring, the athletic training staff has made some changes to our policies and procedures to ensure the safety of its student athletes and athletic staff. Many of these changes might seem drastic or a bit different from our usual operation, but please keep in mind that these are for everyone's safety. The most important aspect of our safety measures is that each staff member and student athlete must do a self-symptom evaluation each day prior to arriving at campus. Those who are experiencing the following COVID-19 related symptoms should not come to campus and should report their symptoms via the procedures outlined by Cabrini University. Symptoms of COVID-19 include fever or chills, cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, fatigue, muscle and body aches, headache, new loss of sense of smell or taste, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea or vomiting, and diarrhea. Entry to the athletic training room. A face mask or face covering must be worn in order to gain entrance to the Dixon Center and the athletic training room. There should be no vents on your masks, and it must cover your nose and your face. Each person who enters the athletic training room must wash their hands at the sink right to the right of the entrance. There's a 10-person maximum in the athletic training room, which includes athletic training staff and other Cabrini athletic staff. The athletic training room is appointment only until further notice. There will be no walk-in treatments or evaluations unless there is an emergency. Student athletes and staff will be responsible for maintaining appropriate social distancing whenever possible while in the athletic training room. No entry will be allowed for any persons who have tested positive for COVID-19 within the last 14 days, or those who have been in contact with an individual who has tested positive within the last 10 days. Those individuals should follow the Cabrini University procedures for quarantine and isolation. There is no entry if you're experiencing any new symptoms of COVID-19, and those individuals should also follow the Cabrini University procedures for reporting symptoms. If an evaluation of an injury is warranted, the student athlete should schedule that with the athletic training staff. Instructions for how to do so will be sent to all student athletes in the coming weeks. Other changes include the fact that no preventative taping will occur. For example, we will not be doing wrist or ankle taping. The student athlete will provide their own ankle braces. If you should have any questions about where to purchase one, please contact the athletic training staff via email. If a student athlete is injured during practice or competition and requires a brace throughout their season, the AT staff will provide one for them. The athletic training staff encourages student athletes to purchase their own foam roller, stretching strap, and plug-in heat pack if they feel that this is something that they would use throughout their respective season. Water and ice. Student athletes will be responsible for providing their own water bottles and its content for all practices and competitions until further notice. If a student athlete arrives at practice without a face mask or face covering and an appropriate water bottle, they will not be allowed to practice that day. Water fountains and ice machines within the Dixon Center are not to be in use until further notice. Pre-bagged injury ice will be available for pickup outside the athletic training room throughout the day, and it will not be wrapped on until further notice. The cold whirlpool will be restricted to emergency use only, and the AT staff will make a case-to-case decision about whether or not the cold whirlpool is an appropriate treatment for a certain injury or illness. Personal protective equipment and cleaning procedures. The athletic training staff will be wearing either N95 or KN95 masks like the one that I'm wearing at all times. Face shields will be worn by the staff in addition to masks while on field or on-court practice or game coverage is occurring. Gloves will be worn at all times and will be changed in between contact with each patient. Student athletes will be responsible for sanitizing equipment, meaning tables and other equipment in the athletic training room, and spray and wipes will be provided. We really hope that these changes will be enough to keep our staff and our student athletes safe so that we can try to proceed with practices in a somewhat normal capacity this fall. Once again, my name is Rachel Flanders, and if you should have any further questions regarding athletic training procedures and policies, my contact information can be found on the Cabrini Athletics website. Thank you.
Hey everybody, welcome back, or welcome if you're an incoming freshman. My name is Dustin Melandra. I'm the strength and conditioning coach here at Cabrini. I'd like to give you guys kind of an update on how we're going to keep you safe as we lift this year and we train. And then we'll do a quick tour of our room and get you guys going. Number one, our main goal is obviously to maintain our social distancing. So we're going to limit our occupancy this year to 5 to 7 student athletes per session. There's the option or the potential to have Coach Nick, our assistant strength coach, take a group into the fitness center during downtimes in the fitness center. So that's a possibility for us to get 10 to 15 max per hour. If we can't do things like that, we'll be outside as much as we can to continue our social distancing in order to require at least 13 feet of space between us. And masks will be required at all times, whether we're indoors or outdoors. We will also be requiring you guys to clean everything after you've used it. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. And we'll have hand sanitizer in 2 separate spots at our entry point and our exit point. Our entry point will always be through the main doors near my office. The exit point will be towards the stairwell down towards the Hall of Fame room. And if you have to use the bathroom, you'll exit through the exit point and you must re-enter through the entry point. We can't come back through the exit point like we've done in the past. You are also going to be required to bring your own water, more for safety as well. And CSI, the cleaning crew, will be here nightly to do a deep clean on the facility. Let's take you guys for a tour so I can show you where everything is. All right, so we've come down the hallway into the strength and conditioning room through the entry point. My office is here. Hand sanitizer right on the door near the entry point. You guys would come in. If you have stuff, put it in the cubbies. And we'll have a quick tour of the room. Excuse the mirror. We're getting that fixed. We'll be utilizing most likely 3 racks max per session to maintain distancing. Our assault bike will be off limits. Cannot have fan bikes or anything with an open fan running. Erg will also be off limits. Paper towels. Coming back down towards the exit point, another hand sanitizer dispenser, another trash can, disinfectant wipes, again, everything will be cleaned: dumbbells, barbells, racks, glute ham machines, stability balls, plyo boxes, foam rollers. If we're doing push-ups or anything on the floor, you will wipe down the floor. And as we finish or use the bathroom, we'll exit through the exit point.
Hi everyone, my name is Laura Patton. I'm the Assistant Director of Athletics at Cabrini, and I oversee the academic progress for all of our student athletes. So some of what I do is meet with student athletes one-on-one. Some of these students may be people that have struggled during the semester and not done as well as they would have liked. Some of them may have trouble adjusting to college, time management, struggling with study skills, or having an advising question that they just don't want to go to their advisor for right away, so they come and pop in and ask me. But in these one-on-one meetings, we do class check-ins. What do you have upcoming in your classes? What grades have you gotten? Any concerns you may have, any concerns I may have. Calculate out your GPA in order to give you an idea of where you may stand at the end of the semester. What does that mean for your athletics eligibility? What does that mean for financial aid, your major, your class progression to other higher level classes? In addition, I work hand in hand with the Center for Student Success, so your Writing Center, Peer Tutors, Disability Resource Center, Math Resource Center. I work with the Center for Career and Professional Development, your Probationary Student Network, so I'm kind of touching base with all of these departments when our students are in need of something that I may not be able to give you right away. I also teach a College 101 section, so for the freshmen on this call, you may have me in class. I may have met some of you already. My section is filled primarily with student athletes, so I gear a lot of the material towards to their needs. I also oversee the pre-registration for athletes. So for the fall students we have on here, that'll come into play in spring 2021 when you go to register for your fall 2021 classes. So that allows you to register 24 hours ahead of the rest of the class and ensure that we have minimal conflicts with your games, game schedule. I also work with every single class from freshmen to seniors to transfers, honors students, students who may be on probation. So there really is no limit. You don't have to fall into a certain category to come into my office. You can grab me in the hallway in Dixon. You can grab me on the field when I'm covering your game. It really does not matter. I am available at any point in time. So just come ask when you need help. Don't wait on it. Just a couple of important things I wanted to touch base on for this fall particularly. It's not going to be your traditional college semester. Obviously, we can thank COVID for that. But we have some of your classes are going to be in online format. Some of them are going to be hybrid. Some of them are going to be high flex. And then some of them may be in person. So it's very important that you review your schedule, know how your class is going to be offered, and then ask if you have any questions, concerns throughout the semester or even before classes start. Ask your professor, me, coach, come see anybody in our department. Athletes have a number of resources that are available to them. So it's just important that you guys take advantage of that and not wait on it. Familiarize yourself with Cabrini Learn and Blackboard, since that's how a lot of your professors are communicating with you, as well as check your Cabrini email. Check it every single day. Link it to your phone if you have to. And then for my new students, so transfers, freshmen that are on here, this first semester is going to be the building block for your next 7 semesters or so you have here. Whatever GPA you get this semester, you build on. So it's very important that you do well, you focus on your classes, seek help when needed, and just do the best that you can this semester. For the returners, I miss you guys. I feel like I haven't seen anybody in forever. So I look forward to see you guys on campus soon. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out at any time. See y'all soon.
Hi there, my name's Dr. Colleen Lelly, and I'm a professor in education here at Cabrini. I was newly elected to the position of faculty athletic rep beginning this fall semester. I'm taking over for Dr. Seth Frecci. He is on his newly retired journey, and it's so well deserved. But I'm here today to talk to you about the different instructional delivery methods that are going to be employed in the fall. So as you know, we have our traditional face-to-face classes, we have our online classes, we have hybrid classes. And Cabrini has been doing all 3 of those methods pretty well and pretty much across the board in terms of our offerings every semester. In the fall, you're going to see something new called high flex. So high flex is when you have a class of 20 and you break them up into 2 groups. So you have your group A and your group B. And let's just say your class was Tuesday, Thursdays at 9:40. On Tuesdays, you meet with your Group A class face-to-face in the classroom, and the Group B is watching remotely, live, and engaging as much as they can within the class community. And then on Thursdays, it reverses. Group A is watching remotely, and Group B is in the classroom. So I wanted to explain that because I'm sure that some of you had some questions about that. And I know that some of you may be very anxious about the ways in which your classes have changed and the modalities switch. So I want you to know that we are here to support you. The athletic staff is here to support you, and I'll be working closely with the athletic staff to ensure that you are able to survive whatever method it may be that you're a little nervous about. So I'm here to help. Again, I'm Dr. Colleen Lely. If you don't know who I am, please reach out if you have any questions at all. And I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you. Roll Cavs.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. As we gear up to head back to Cabrini's campus in the fall, I wanted to give some important updates regarding some SAC programming that we have been working on as we head into the year. Although we won't be able to hold our traditional events like the Welcome Back Barbecue, our Fall Athletics Speaker, and the always popular Halloween Havoc, we are working to keep our student athletes engaged, educated, and in the Cavalier spirit this fall. In September, athletics will help host their first Common Hour event with the help of SEAL and other organizations on campus. This event will be focused on the importance of voting in the upcoming presidential election. Many of our coaches have collaborated on making this important and educational event happen. Information will be available regarding voter registration, getting to the polls, and more. As student athletes and young adults, you all deserve to have your voices heard, and we want to make that happen. With the help of athletic staff, SAC has also begun planning to potentially create a diversity committee within athletics that is made up of students, coaches, and staff. This group's purpose would be to help address issues internally and plan educational opportunities for the entire Cabrini community. More information will come on this as we move into the fall. Lastly, SAC will be joining with a new NCAA program called the Freshman Experience, a virtual programming series that will educate all of our student athletes, not just our freshmen, on topics like drug use, mental health, sport nutrition, and more. The program will allow students to create their own accounts and attend sessions individually or with their teams. Plenty more information regarding this will be announced as well as we move into the fall. Stay tuned for more updates from myself and the rest of athletics as we work together to navigate this new normal and maintain our best is the standard tradition. I can't wait to have all you guys back soon. See ya.
Hope everyone felt that presentation, those video segments were informative. We would now like to proceed with the next portion of this session, open forum, and take any questions. There's no wrong question here. We'll do our best to provide as much information as possible, but please don't hesitate. Several of us did include our email addresses at the top of the chat as well. If you're not comfortable asking a question in this public forum, please feel free to email myself, Orland, Kate, Rachel, and we'll certainly get back to you as well as quickly as possible. Okay. As I mentioned at the beginning of the segment, we do have our Dean of Students, Stephen Ruprecht, here as well, that can answer any questions in regards to campus protocols, dining, residence halls. We're here to help and try to provide as much information as we can.
Brad, Kara's asking, will the tennis courts be open for individual hitting?
Yes, so we are working through, again, various reservation system process that will allow access to facilities following the measures that we have employed, social distancing and masking.
Ashley's asking, if you play a fall and spring sport, do you have to choose one sport to play?
No. So, our principles behind the Division III model have not changed, and we'll stay focused on that model as much as possible. And what I mean by that is we try to suggest, recommend, encourage as much out of the student athlete experience as possible. So if you are a dual or three-sport student athlete, we still encourage that and welcome that. However, the environment is going to be very different, and we'll have to work together, our coaches, our staff, administration, on what we're able to do within those other sports if you are playing another sport outside of the fall season.
Gerald is also asking if the golf simulator is going to be available.
Go ahead, Orlin.
Yes, so we are working on a good strategy for that because that room is kind of separated from everything else and presents some challenges for supervising it and cleaning it. In the early few weeks, it will not be open for just general drop-in. We'll have it scheduled through the coaches and work with them on making sure that activity in there is supervised, but we are looking for a way to try to open it up and make it a little bit more available towards the middle and end of the semester.
Tori is asking if you could please explain the NCAA rules regarding eligibility if the season is only partially completed or interrupted. You're on mute, Kate. Oh, maybe not.
Kate, are you with us?
Tori, we're gonna answer your question, Tori. We're just looks like there's some technical difficulties.
Tori, we'll get back to that question. I want to make sure that I give Kate an opportunity to review that with you and answer that question. But so why don't we go back to that one? Again, please keep these questions coming.
Shannon's asking, will the turf be open during the day for individuals outside practice time?
Yeah, so right now, obviously the turf and the upper field are hard for us to completely close off access. But one of the things that, we've stressed and we want to continue to stress through the season is that, we're working in these pods in our practices and with our teams. And it's important for us to maintain similar numbers if we're going out onto the turf field for any open play. Because it kind of defeats the purpose of doing practice pods and keeping smaller groups if 30 of you go out and start a pickup game on the field. So really, we're all working off of these NCAA rules. And so the turf will be open, but we need you all to be responsible when you go out there and not be playing full on, 10v10, 11v11 games with full contact or, full speed scrimmages, because that runs the risk of passing. If anyone has the virus, then they're going to pass it to the entire team. And part of the reason for the pods is to keep that chance of cross exposure to lower numbers, so that if we need to isolate 5 of you, the whole team isn't isolated or the whole department isn't isolated. So it could be available around practices, but it's really important that all of you are responsible in your activity around campus, not just when you're in practices with your coaches. Keep all of these measures in mind and try to employ them the entire time you're on campus in classes, on the commons, that you're keeping distance. Certainly a few of you go out there and pass the ball around and shoot around, that's fine. But again, we don't want to see large groups out there playing full-blown scrimmages, because that's just going to jeopardize our chances of a season or continuing through the practices through the fall. So we really need you guys to work with us.
All right, I'm going to try again. Can people hear me?
Yes.
Gotcha, Kate. Yep.
Sorry about that, guys. So circling back to the first question in terms of eligibility and how that extra year will work, I'll use soccer as an example. So what the NCAA and the waivers that they put in place go off of the maximum allowable dates of competition. So for example, soccer, you're allowed to play 20 matches in the course of a season. If our team over the course of the fall and the spring plays in 10 or less, student athletes will not be charged with the year of eligibility. So you'll get that year of eligibility back. In addition, to go along with that, they are giving you 2 full-time semesters back. So if you remember for my returners, your eligibility is kind of measured in 2 parts. It's measured in your time to be able to compete and your opportunities to be able to compete. So they're giving you those 2 full-time semesters back to complete your 4 years of eligibility.
A couple more questions we have. Lily wants to know how big the pods can be.
So we have set up these pods to be no more than 10, so 10 or less. The guidelines and restrictions that make up these pods have been sent to your coaches, and they will be working with you, if they haven't already, to lay out what those pods will look like.
And Tori wants to know if fans and parents will be able to attend events.
Yeah, so I'll take that one too, Tori. So right now, as I mentioned earlier, any and all competitions throughout the fall have been postponed. So we are not conducting any competitions for not only our fall, but for our non-traditional seasons sports as well. We are working through conversation and dialogue on our winter seasons and spring seasons, and including in those conversations is whether or not parents and fans, if we are able to assume or resume competition within those seasons, part of the dialogue will be whether or not fans will be able to attend as well. So we have not made that declaration one way or the other just yet, with the exception of where we are now for the duration of the fall semester.
Jonathan asks, with the extra year of eligibility, do they have to be a full-time student to play during your 5th year?
Guess that one's mine too. So the NCAA has not weighed in on that. There is still a lot of moving parts and fluidity that are going with that. I will say the legislation that is in place with being in your last full-time or your last semester towards graduation, you can still be a part-time student. And whether or not they extend that to the semester prior to that, they haven't weighed in on yet.
These are all great questions, everyone.
Miranda's asking, will we have access to the video we watched at the beginning to go over it again?
Absolutely. So this is recorded, and we will post this on the COVID-19 athletics resource page as well. Thanks, Miranda. We still have some allocated time, so we can hang tight for a few more minutes just to make sure that we're covering any and all questions that come through.
Griffith is asking, after Thanksgiving break, will we be returning to campus in December?
Stephen, I'll let you take that one.
Sure. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Stephen.
Stephen Ripprecht, Dean of Students and sports fan as well. Let me just say first, we miss seeing all of you, and we are working our darndest to make sure that we're ready for you in the fall, and we believe we are. The schedule for the fall was set up in such a way that we want to give students the opportunity and the option to go home if that need presents itself, but the campus is going to remain open from Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving until the end of the fall semester. But at that point, the residence halls would close normally, and only those students who apply for break housing and are approved can stay after finals in December through opening in January.
Great. Thanks, Stephen.
Mm-hmm.
Maria, I see the next question. If one person on the team gets sick, does the whole team have to isolate? Rachel, can you respond to that?
You're on mute, Rachel.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, now we can, Rachel.
Okay. Sorry, I think it was breaking up. So if you're having trouble, just let me know. So just to check a little bit with the pod that we talked about earlier, the whole purpose of the pods is to keep you away from the entire team. So if somebody does get sick, then only that pod would be effective. So long story, no, the entire team would not need to, unless there's a sort of crossover between pods that we become aware of. But the whole point of the pods is just to keep people together in the middle of the group process, like the rest of the class.
Brad, if I could jump in, and I could try to repeat a little bit of what Rachel said if that was difficult to hear. You know, the pods for your sports are designed in such a way to try to limit full exposure to the whole team. So your adherence to that structure is going to be super important. We recognize, though, that outside of any kind of practices or other structured activities, you may interact with other people. So the idea behind quarantining, in fact, our new director of health services, Bridget Spence, you'll meet her in a couple of weeks. She and I were talking about quarantining today. And quarantining really is based on something called contact tracing. And what that happens is that'll be done by the counties, by Chester County. So they'll determine who needs to quarantine and who doesn't. But we'll do some preliminary work to the extent that we can to consider who is exposed related to were they within 6 feet distance, and were they with someone more than 15 minutes? Were they wearing masks or adhering to PPE standards? So all of those things will be taken into consideration. What will likely happen is that we'll do some precautionary advice while we're waiting on full guidance from Chester County related to who has to quarantine. If anybody has to quarantine, which means you are exposed, or if anybody needs to isolate, which means you've had a positive test, our first option is always going to be that that's done at home. And it's not that we don't want you around, but we don't really want sick people around. And also, home is really the best and most comfortable place for you to engage in that activity for lots of reasons. It's not going to be fun to be in isolation on our campus because you're going to be by yourself in a room. The only time you're going to come out is to shower and go to the bathroom. You'll have your meals delivered to you. We're trying to figure out a way to engage you in maybe getting outside for a little while so you have some fresh air, but it's going to be a little bit lonely. And so the best place to do that really is home. And if you can do that, we recommend that you do that. However, we do recognize there are two main reasons why you wouldn't. One would be because somebody at home might be immunocompromised, and we don't want to jeopardize that person's health. And then also we recognize that some of you are from far distances, and we would never want to put you on a plane to have you do that. So we do have spaces reserved. And we'll be posting information about quarantine and isolation sometime next week so that there are no questions. It's all very out in the open and everybody understands our protocols.
Jonathan is asking, can we play in outside leagues since the fall season is canceled?
Well, I'll start with my response, and if Kate, you certainly want to chime in with anything in regards to compliance concerns. We are recommending that you do not. Yes, our fall seasons have been canceled, but I think it's very important that we remain committed to the protocols that we're laying out. And to limit transmission and exposure, we're recommending that you do not go outside of these 10-person bubbles to compete or practice. That to me is counterproductive. To several of us would be counterproductive. So we're recommending that you do not compete in any outside leagues, even though our fall sport competitions have been postponed.
To chime in with that as well on the NCAA side of things, there is legislation that is in play that during your season, and I know that we are in a days segment, but once we start practices, until we decide that fall season is going to be over, you are technically in season, regardless of whether or not there's competitions going on, which prohibits competing against outside competition outside of what Cabrini would offer. So to answer your question in terms of when we are in season, there is legislation that prohibits you from doing that, which would have some eligibility ramifications on you.
Thanks, Kate.
Kara wants to know if they've talked about the spring sports season yet.
Kara, yes. While we have been focused primarily on, since the decision to postpone fall competition, what a return to practice conditioning will look like. We have had conversation about winter seasons, about our spring sports. However, at this time, we're not prepared to really kind of go through any guidelines or decisions. That has to be done first and foremost through our Atlantic East Conference, the conference again that we're in. And those discussions are weekly, ongoing on what our winter and spring seasons will look like. We do expect within the next couple weeks, by September 1st, to have more information.
Sophia wants to know if they have to wear the masks while practicing in the pods.
Rachel, can you take Arcade? Yep.
Just because Rachel was breaking up, and it's
Yeah.
going to be the same answer. Yes, based on NCAA standards, in terms of what we have to follow, there will be a mask mandate when you're practicing indoors and outdoors.
And
That also adheres to the Cabrini policy as well, where you have to be masked in all public spaces.
And Riley wants to know if are the pods we are practicing in with the same pods we'll be lifting with?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Tori wants to know, will there be a meeting like this regarding on-campus housing? She's concerned that the dorms and housing will be hard to monitor. Large gatherings and increases in cases right away as seen at the other schools is concerning.
Brett, I could take that. Tori, that's a very good question. We had 2 information sessions last week, and the links to those recordings are on cabrini.edu/return2020. Beyond that, though, I can tell you a couple of things. We recognize what's happening on other campuses right now, and we don't know what provisions they had in place. Certainly, it's impossible for any campus to control or monitor what happens outside of structured examples like a residence hall or classes. But within the Cabrini residence halls, there are a couple of things in place. The same thing about wearing masks. The only time students are permitted to not wear their masks is in their own private room, or when they're in the bathroom, like brushing their teeth or in the shower. But other than that, you're wearing your mask all the time. This is going to be a tough one if you're not familiar with this already. We're not allowing any guests in any of our buildings. So if you live in Woodcrest Residence Hall, but your friends live in East Residence Hall, you can't go into East Residence Hall. So like somebody had recommended earlier about exercising outside, your socializing will likely also occur mostly outside and where you're better able to social distance. Within the residence halls, the maximum number of guests is 1. So if you're in a 2-person room, you can have one other person in your room. But if you have another person in your room, you have to be wearing a mask. So that's everybody, even the people who are part of the room. So it's, it's not perfect, but we believe that some of those measures are really putting us at a greater chance to succeed. So I hope that helps answer some of your questions.
So Maria, I can take the next 2 about the pods.
Sure.
So what we're doing with the teams and the coaches is you'll be split into groups of smaller numbers. So rather than a team of 30 practicing all together, we'll be split into groups of 10 or less. And your coaches are working on developing those groupings based on what they want to work on, maybe your positions, just a wide variety of factors. So they'll be putting together those pods and assignments. And so that'll be a small unit within the team that you're working with. So anytime you practice, you'll be practicing with that group and only that group, or you'll be very distanced from any other group so that there's no crossover between, pod A and pod B. They're 2 separate teams in a sense within the team. So that way, what Rachel was trying to say was that we're trying to minimize any chances of crossover and transmitting the virus. If one person in one pod has it, then we're not passing it to the entire team. So if someone does have it and becomes symptomatic and we need to isolate or quarantine, then we're only isolating or quarantining those 8 or 10 people as opposed to all 30. So it makes it a little bit easier for us to narrow down groups, and it makes it easier for the coaches to be able to continue to do practices and work with you throughout the entire season and not have to shut down for 2 weeks at a time the entire program. So one of the factors that coaches are looking at when they're putting the pods together, or should be looking at, is if people live together in the same house or if they're roommates. Because if 2 people are roommates, but one's in pod A and one's in pod B, and the one in pod B is positive, then we have to shut down both pods. So as long as housemates or roommates are on the same pod, then we only have to worry about that one pod. And so they are taking those types of things into consideration when they put the pods together.
Matt wants to know what happens if a person is caught not wearing a mask.
I can answer that. I tell you, it's a very fair question. Let's think about the context. It won't happen in a classroom because our instructors know, you can't come into the classroom without the mask. And my understanding is that our provost is going to ask all of our instructors to start every class with reminders about those mitigation strategies. Wear your mask, clean your hands, social distance, monitor your symptoms, things like that. And I'm sure some will do that in a very fun way. Dr. Lely, I'm sure, will be wonderful at that. And some others may just read from a script, who knows? So there's that environment. In the residence halls and in outside environments, a lot of this will likely come down to positive peer pressure. And what we're encouraging you and your peers to do is to apply that positive peer pressure and to say, hey friend, it's, let's get that mask on, right? Let's make sure we're doing that to protect everybody. If I get as the dean of students, if I get a report about someone not wearing a mask or someone not adhering to mitigation strategies, I'm going to follow up with that student and I'm going to look for their commitment to continue to now adhere to that mitigation strategy. And on a rare circumstance where they say, Dean, screw you, I'm not doing that, they can start packing their bags. But if they are going to comply, let's give them a chance. This is a caring community, and maybe it was an honest mistake. The bottom line, though, is you can't give a student too many chances because we can't risk your health and safety. So everybody that's on our coronavirus task force, including Brad and Orlin, and I really appreciate their contributions. We've talked about ways that we're all going to contribute to promoting adherence to those practices. It could be not wearing a mask. It could be the social distancing piece. The one that scares a lot of us is not what's going to happen during the day, but what's going to happen between 11 and 2 a.m. And we're hoping that you're going to make smart decisions and you're going to say, this is not the semester to do this. Of all semesters, and trust me, I was your age many, many years ago, and I remember that, but of all semesters, this is not the one to make that mistake. You will surely set us up to get us home early, and we don't want that. We want you to be on campus. We want you to be with each other, but that will surely put us in a bad spot. So we'll enforce it, but I can tell you right now, we're not going to police it. We're not going to run around looking for people not doing it, but our eyes will be wide open, okay?
Thank you, Stephen.
Lindsay wants to know if we're going to start practice as soon as classes start.
Lindsay, we will not. So we're not going to start this gating process until September 8th. And again, that's 2 weeks of getting yourselves from a physiology standpoint all set and ready to go. And part of that gating process, again, will be to make sure that we're covering, reviewing, as we've talked about here this evening, what these measures will look like and give an opportunity for you guys to adapt. So September 8th, we'll start with light conditioning, and then after 2 weeks, so September 21st, we will move into the next phase after that 2-week acclimatization process.
Morgan wants to know how we will be monitoring these regulations.
Morgan, that's a great question. All of these are excellent questions. What we're doing on our end, and Stephen alluded to this, is that we're all going to play a part. We're all going to make sure that whether it's coaches, staff, other university administration, that we continue to educate and we preface the importance of following these guidelines and recommendations at all times. As Stephen said, we do not want to have to go home early. So education, I think, is key, coming from ourselves, even you, and to your peers, as well as our coaches, and following through as much as we can. And then the responsibility outside of athletic supervision will rely on you. As Stephen said, you're questioning your peers on, you shouldn't be doing this, you should be doing that. These are all things that we're all going to have to come together as a community and believe in, so we can stay on campus, so we can proceed with the fall semester.
Brad, can I add to that real quickly? I understand that the University Marketing and Communications Department, they're seeking students to be on campus late this week, early next week, to be part of these videos and other maybe still pictures or something related to promoting the mitigation strategies. But I'll tell you what, I've seen some of your TikTok videos and your creativity, and I'll tell you what, let's have some competition going on this, and let's see who can creatively challenge your peers to adhere to these strategies. I think it'd be a ton of fun. We get a lot of good laughs out of it, and it might serve to reinforce some good messages. So the challenge is out there. I'll find some prizes. I'll find something, but don't hold back. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Thanks, Stephen.
Jonathan wants to know, is Dixon looking to open to lift outside of Team Lift? Would we use a sign-up sheet?
Yeah, so the Dixon Center will open. We're planning to open on the first day of classes, and we'll be open for workouts. The one thing, well, a couple things you have to keep in mind. One, we will be doing it on a reservation system. So, we have to limit the number of people that we have and make sure that we're keeping a little bit more distant in the fitness center. So normally we talk about 6 feet of social distancing in exercise situations, like in a fitness center. In a workout, really it's more recommended that you stick to like 13 feet of separation. So what that means is we're going to be closing off some equipment, and where we have normally 10 treadmills open, we'll probably only have 4 open at a time. And in order to clean the equipment after each user and get ready for more people, we're going to be setting up a reservation system. So you'll reserve your time to come in and work out and then head out. So we will be open, but it's going to be a little bit more limited in how many we can accommodate. And it may not be easy for you to just drop in and lift at any time. We're hoping that there may be some times that you could do that, but if you show up to the Dixon Center and we already have too many people in the fitness center or on the treadmills, then you may have to wait or come back at a later time. And the reservations, that'll be on, it's an online system that we're setting up in the next week and a half. And so you'll go on there, sign in, and you'll be able to see what slots are open, and then you can select your time slots, come in either for the treadmills. We'll have time slots for machines for the strength area, and also for pool lanes. So if you're looking to swim, then you can reserve a time slot in there as well.
Can I jump in on that too a little bit? I know a lot of you guys are going to be chomping at the bit to lift and work out, and that's great, and we need you guys to stay on top of it. But as Orland said, it's going to be reservation. It's going to be smaller numbers in the fitness center. The strength and conditioning staff is going to be bogged down with acclimatization work, hands-on for those first couple weeks. So if anyone needs anything specific and you're struggling, I'll put my email in the chat too. Just please email me with your questions. If you need a program that's, you just let me know what you have available. Our outdoor work will be primarily speed work, acceleration work, body weight work, mobility, conditioning.
because that's what we can do outside. But feel free to email me, and we'll do the best that we can to help you guys kind of stay fit if you don't have access.
And sorry, just to add also to Dustin's point, the recommendations from the CDC and others are that exercising outside is a much better option than going into a fitness center. So I would definitely encourage you to find creative ways to exercise, do body weight exercises or workouts outside. We will be open, but it may just be a little bit more limited in when you can get in.
I think we did cover all the questions that have been listed on the chat, but we still have a few minutes, so we'll hang on in an event that there's more coming.
Brad, if I may just maybe make a closing thought to
Absolutely.
the group. I want to say, number one, thanks for the invite to be part of this. As a sports fan, I don't nearly miss this as much as you do. So I want to just recognize that. I'm sorry this happened to you. We are looking forward to seeing you, and we're doing our very best to make sure that it's going to be a safe and healthy place to be. And lastly, I just want to say that with the best being the standard, let's apply that to our mitigation practices as well. And I really would love it if you can help us to influence your peers, your non-athlete peers, to rise to the occasion and to do your very best. And that's going to give us a great shot to get all the way through to December and then all the way through to May. So if you need anything beyond tonight that I can help you with, just remember Dean of Students at cabrini.edu, and that goes right to me. So thank you, and roll Cavs.
Thanks, Stephen. Okay. Well,
So
Jordan has a question.
It says, Jordan has a question. I have an in-person class, then an online class back to back. So where exactly would I take that class? In the library?
That's a great question, Jordan. That is an active discussion, literally to the minute. Dr. Michelle Filling-Brown is from the School of Humanities and Social Sciences. Long story short, our registrar, who is in charge of all the scheduling for the classes, what he's currently doing right now is identifying rooms on campus that are available at certain times so that students in that situation will have a place to go. We don't want you just say, well, you need to go to the Commons if you want. The outdoor Wi-Fi, by the way, has been given an upgrade. So that's great news. But that will be announced by me on an email that I send out weekly, and I'll make sure to let you know where that's posted. If you don't get it this week, I promise you will get it next week so that you know of all the places you can go. Yeah, great question.
Thanks, Jordan. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any other questions coming through the chat. Oh, I spoke too soon.
Morgan says, do you feel like we are getting the college experience? I'm debating on not living on campus now because I feel like I'm not getting the college experience.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. I think some people are concerned about the quality of that experience. I can tell you there are a lot of people at the university who are engaged daily in that very discussion, because we want you to have the traditional university experience, but recognize at the same time it can't be what it used to be. So how do we do that? And I can tell you the greatest champions of that, besides athletics and recreation, would be our partners with Student Engagement and Leadership, SEAL. They are really working hard to create an experience for you that is safe, social distanced. They'll be doing social activities virtually. They'll be doing some things live and in person. And I know our faculty, and Dr. Lelly can speak to this, they want you to have that same type of engaged experience. But I can't not say it has to be different this year. And to the extent that that is the experience that you want, it certainly won't be normal, but we want you to have the most engaged experience. If we didn't care about that, we would just do online. It would be that simple. But we do care because we want you to be together. We know it's good for your mental health. We know it's good for your social and emotional growth as an individual. And that's important. Your wellness is really important to us. So that's why we're making such a large effort to remain open. And we'll do everything we can to do that. But I also just have to say, just so that you don't think we're like delusional or anything, we are really paying attention to every marker, every trigger that could cause us to pivot. And I think all of our fear is that we're going to go, and then at the last minute, we're going to say we're online. We'll do that if we have to do that. But if we believe we can have a safe, socially engaged experience, we're going to do it. But recognize that we might have to pivot. So if you haven't dropped off your things yet, pack lightly, and then just supplement your clothes in October or something like that. So we'll keep you abreast of any kind of developments.
Stephen, if Dr. Lely, if she's still with us, is there anything Colleen that you would like to add with that?
Yeah, no, I agree. And with everything that Dr. Brooks said, I think that, we're all trying to make this as engaging as possible. We want it to be engaging. It will be engaging. And I think that, sometimes, and I know what the traditional college experience is like. I have a student, a child, Michael, who's at Cabrini, and he's going to be a junior. And then I have my daughter who's going off to university this year as well. So I understand what that's like. For me personally, I'll tell just a quick story. I was actually a commuter and I went to Cabrini, and I was very engaged on campus. I did lots of things. I was on campus more than probably some of the residential students. So I think my point is that it's you make of it, whether you live there, whether you're living at home, you can also make of the situation too. So get yourself engaged with SEAL, as well as athletics is a great group as well. So we're going to try and do that as best as we can. And we're looking forward to seeing all of you on campus, and we want to stay on campus. So we're looking forward to that.
Britt, did you want to add something?
Yeah, sorry. I just saw, I see the words college experience, and as someone who went through the student athlete experience at Cabrini and enjoyed it so much, made it a career, I can't not comment for a second. Morgan, I know how you feel. I'm talking with some of the soccer players. I know they're all feeling the same way, and it's tough, but for me, and I think a lot of you will agree, the biggest part of the college experience is doing things together, so that everything we're doing as we get to as we come onto the fall season and as we get on campus, you're going to be doing it together. So the fact of the matter is, you might be a little bit socially distanced, and you might not be doing it the way that you always have. And, we have no corners to cut here, and we have rules to follow, but we're going to be doing it together. And in a weird way, we're all going to look back on this in 2022, 2023, whenever, and say, like, we got through 2020 together. We did this new year together. And that right there is your college experience. And everyone's college experience is unique in and of itself. So I think, and I strongly encourage you to, be on Cabrini's campus, because, even in a pandemic, when things aren't the greatest, Cabrini's campus is still the place to be. So I strongly encourage you to give it a shot, to kind of have that college experience still, kind of before you count it out as we head into the fall.
Well said, Britt.
Yep.
Tori has another question. If I do not come back in fall because I'm taking online courses at home, will that impact me for the spring season?
Yeah, so if you're taking online classes, that still counts as a full-time semester against your 10 allowable full-time semesters, and you would just have to maintain your academic eligibility, which we would obviously work with you through the online courses and VARA monitors, most of that, and we would be able to tell you if you're academically eligible at the end of the fall semester.
All right. Jonathan wants to know how the cafe and dining halls are going to work.
Another issue that's within the hour. So the dining hall will be at a 25% capacity. So you might be wondering, how is everybody going to eat? We recognize, and we've been talking with our peers throughout the region and the state, and let alone the country, a lot of dining halls are going to a takeout only format. We're not there yet, but I can tell you it's possible we may go in that direction. Right now, we are not going in that direction. But again, given certain conditions, I'll give you a quick example. If we were to find out that Sodexo, our dining provider, can't properly staff the dining hall because of their employees not being able to get to Cabrini, or for whatever reason, we'd have to make adjustments. So we've talked about lots of contingency plans already. Maybe retail dining, and by the way, there's changes to retail dining, so we'll get to that later. Maybe they're not going to be able to open because we have to keep Caps Corners open. But to your question, because we're at a 25% seating capacity, a couple of things are happening. Number one, we're expanding and doing outside seating. So there are picnic benches with tables on their way, and we're going to be able to enjoy outside seating. We do expect that a lot of our students are not going to want to sit in the dining hall because you're going to have to be socially distanced, and you can't just grab chairs and move them and be with each other like you normally are. I want that too. I mean, I used to walk in the dining hall, and our women's soccer team, you know, I'm a big fan. I'm the faculty mentor. They, you know, come on over, sit with us. That's not going to be able to happen this fall. So I think a lot of people are just going to do takeout, and that'll be okay. You're allowed to do that. We're not sure what's going to happen with late night. Late night is a congregate setting, and it doesn't really work well with social distancing. So again, that'll be part of our future announcements. You'll probably see a lot more about dining this week and next week, so that we can make sure we provide you a clear picture about how that's going to work.
Thanks, Stephen. Okay. Well, not seeing any other questions come in.
Amy says, thanks for all your hard work and dedication.
Oh. Thanks, Amy. Okay. Well, I will, I think we can move towards closing the session. Before I do, I just want to thank the panel, everyone that played a part in putting this evening together. There is just a lot of behind the scenes work that we're working very diligently to prepare for your return to campus. So again, thank you to the panel, and Stephen, you joining us, Dr. Lally, you joining us as well. I hope, again, this was informative for students, student athletes, and parents and families that are on the call. We do anticipate for the winter, and if there are some spring families or coaches that are on the call, again, doing something like this for those seasons as well in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that, and please pay attention to, again, that resource page that we have listed as a part of CabriniAthletics.com. So having said all that, in closing, as a Department of Athletics, as a university, coaches, staff, admins, we are committed to ensuring your safety as much as possible and adhering to all of these guidelines. We believe we can do it, but we can't do it unless you guys are on board. We need to do this together. So please apply common sense in everything that you do when you're back on campus. We've said this earlier, but one person's actions can shut down an entire team or worse. So we need to all commit to what's laid out in front of us so we can fulfill our seasons, what this season will look like in the fall, and potentially move forward with spring competition. As information develops, and if we are in need of another pivot, we will update that resource page, and coaches will reach out to you as quickly as possible. And again, I listed my email address on the top of the chat. You can find all of our contact information on CabriniAthletics.com as well. Please feel free to follow up with any other questions. Again, looking and don't see any others coming in. Reach out to us individually, feel free, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible. So we are grateful to have some version of a fall semester, and very much looking forward to seeing you on campus in a few weeks. Okay. So that concludes our open forum tonight. It's great to see some of you on the call, all of you here. And again, take care, be safe, and we'll see you in a few weeks.